This past Monday night, the Buffalo Bills dropped the New York Jets 23-20 to drop the Jets to now 2-4 on the season. And the Jets have been a struggling franchise for the longest of times, for as long as I can remember. And they brought in Aaron Rodgers with hopes of him turning around the franchise. And they recently brought in Davante Adams to add to Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think this is the right direction. I just don't think that the Aaron Rodgers experience has worked. Nothing has changed. Since they acquired Rodgers, the Jets are 9-14. In the previous 23 games, they were 8-15. It's the same thing. It hasn't changed. The Rodgers experience hasn't worked. Move on. So, let's take a bit of a deeper look at the Jets' background and the Aaron Rodgers background to determine why it hasn't worked and whether or not they can still save it. Let's get to it.
Play before the 2-minute warning. Rodgers buys time, airs it out. Mike Williams fell down, and it is picked by Tyron Johnson. Taron Johnson.
The Jets haven't been good for quite a while. Their struggles can be traced back all the way back to Joe Namath's wrist injury in 1970, or all the way back to Mark Sanchez' shoulder injury in the AFC Championship game in 2010. However, I chose to start the 2021 NFL Draft. Despite having a rookie defensive-minded head coach in Robert Saleh, and their offensive line being ranked 29th in PFF's final ranking of the previous season, Jets chose to use the second overall pick on a project quarterback in Zach Wilson. And project quarterbacks are always very affected by the environment they're drafted into. Project quarterbacks drafted into the right environment, proper environment, such as Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, have been very successful. However, we've seen other project quarterbacks drafted into the wrong environment crash and burn. And it's safe to say that Zach Wilson was drafted into the wrong environment. And to no one's surprise, Zach Wilson, in his first 2 seasons as the Jets signal caller, he went 8-14. His offense scored 17.2 points per game. Wilson completed a mere 55% of his passes for only 4,022 yards. Reminder, that's over 22 games, not one season, 15 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, and a passer rating of 70.9. To put things simply, he wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, after starting his head coach career 11-23, Robert Saleh deserved to be fired. However, he was able to stick around due to the excuse of not having a good quarterback to work with. Since their defense had only allowed 18.6 points per game in 2022, 4th best in the NFL, the Jets believed that if they could figure out their offense, they could become one of the top teams in the league. Their offensive line had stepped it over the past 2 years and finished 2021 season ranked 13th on PFF's rankings. In addition, rookie weapons receiver Garrett Wilson and running back Breece Hall emerged as high-end skill players. Hence, the key to figuring out their offense was finding functional quarterback play. In accordance, in the 2022-2023 offseason, the New York Jets acquired future Hall of Fame quarterback, 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers and extended his contract through 2025. Rodgers was expected to be a perfect fit for the quarterback-lacking Jets roster, and the speculation begun. In 2021, on his way to leading the Green Bay Packers to a 13-4 season, Aaron Rodgers put up a historic campaign. At age 39, said campaign was enough to win Rodgers his 4th and 2nd consecutive NFL MVP award. Over the following offseason, the Packers traded away Rodgers' favorite target, Davante Adams, and naturally, Rodgers got a year older. The results showed. Aaron Rodgers took a step back the following season. In 2022, the Packers went 8-9, missed the playoffs, as Rodgers regressed by 4.3% completion percentage, 40 yards per game, 0.78 touchdowns per game, and threw an extra 0.45 interceptions per game. In total, his passer rating dropped from 111.9 to 91.1. While his supporting cast wasn't as good in 2022, it's hard not to attribute Rodgers' regression to his old age. At that point, the Packers already had a young quarterback in Jordan Love sitting on the bench for 3 years. After Rodgers took a step in the wrong direction in 2022, Green Bay decided that it was time to move on to Jordan Love. They got the most they could by trading Rodgers to the New York Jets that offseason. Rodgers was expected to be a perfect fit for the quarterback-lacking Jets roster, and the speculation begun. It's not rare that veteran quarterbacks go to different organizations late in their careers. Veteran quarterbacks tend to be great leaders and have positive impact on the culture of the team. When the situation has been right, we've seen these quarterbacks be extremely successful with their new teams. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl and had 2 of his best seasons after joining the Denver Broncos at age 36. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl and set a new career high in passing yards after signing with the Buccaneers at age 43. Nonetheless, when the situation wasn't right, we've seen some of these veteran quarterbacks ruin their reputations and their legacies by struggling with their new teams. Matt Ryan had the worst season of his career after being traded to the Colts at age 37. Russell Wilson became a laughingstock after being traded to the Broncos at age 34. While most were excited about Rodgers' potential with the New York Jets, some of us were asking ourselves whether he would be a Manning/Brady or a Ryan/Wilson. After starting his coaching career 11-23, Saleh finally had his quarterback, and there was no reason for him to not have success with Rodgers. Unfortunately, 4 plays into the Rodgers-Saleh era in New York, Rodgers ruptured his left Achilles tendon and was done for the season. Just like that, the Jets were back to square one with Zach Wilson under center. Throughout the 2023 season, we heard a lot about how good the Jets will be when Rodgers comes back. And with the Jets' defense ranking top 5 in terms of yards allowed for a second consecutive season, the speculation grew even more. However, for a few reasons, I was skeptical. We already saw Rodgers regress at his age of 39 season in 2022. Will his regression go even further in his age 41 season? In addition, 20-30% of Achilles tendon ruptures never recover enough to return to sports, with the numbers getting worse as age goes on. Rodgers is 41 years of age. Will his recovery ever be complete? Will he be as good as he was before he got injured? Furthermore, Saleh has a career record of 18 wins and 33 losses, and Hackett's offenses have been terrible over the past 2 seasons. Is the situation right for a veteran quarterback? Finally, a veteran quarterback can change a team's culture by about 30-50%, but one man can't change a multi-billion-dollar organization by himself. Is the Jets' culture broken beyond Rodgers' repair? Sure enough, the Jets looked lackluster in their Week 1 performance as they dropped a Monday Night Football matchup 32-19 against the San Francisco 49ers. In Week 2, courtesy of Will Levis making atrocious turnovers late in the game, the Jets snuck by with an ugly 24-17 win over the Tennessee Titans. In Week 3, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets put on dominant performance and blew out the Patriots 24-3. The Jets seemed to be rolling, and Aaron Rodgers seemed to be the solution. However, things took a turn for the worse when Aaron Rodgers and the Jets faced the Denver Broncos and their dominant defense in Week 4. Rodgers was thrown around like a ragdoll, and the Jets' offense stalled. In the fourth quarter of New York's 10-9 loss, Rodgers was seen reaching for his leg, limping and wincing in pain. After the game, Rodgers said he was dealing with some swelling in his knee, unaffiliated to his previous Achilles injury. He added that he had stuff going on both legs. The following week, Rodgers was sacked 4 times and threw 3 interceptions during the Jets' 23-17 loss to Minnesota Vikings in London. After the game, Rodgers discussed a knee injury, but was cleared for last night's matchup against their division rival, the Buffalo Bills. As I mentioned above, after starting his career as a head coach 11-23, Robert Saleh deserved to be fired. However, his excuse was that he didn't have a quarterback to work with. Now they had Rodgers, and he still started 2-3. There was no reason not to fire him, and sure enough, the Jets got rid of him. However, it didn't matter. Even without Saleh, the Jets found a way to shoot themselves in the foot in a Monday Night Football matchup against the Bills. They missed 2 field goals, and Rodgers threw a crucial interception late in the game to seal the deal. They haven't looked good with Rodgers, without Rodgers, with Saleh, without Saleh. The Jets have a bad offensive line. Rodgers' legs are falling apart. They don't have the proper play calling. Their culture is bad. Bringing in Devontae Adams isn't going to help. So far, in the Jets' 3-game losing streak, Aaron Rodgers has thrown 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 12 times. Their offense is scoring 15.3 points per game. Rodgers is going to be turning 41 in a couple of months. He's not getting any better. His clock's ticking down. If I was the Jets, I would understand what happened, and I would minimize the damage by moving on and going into a rebuild. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing.
Play before the 2-minute warning. Rodgers buys time, airs it out. Mike Williams fell down, and it is picked by Tyron Johnson. Taron Johnson.